How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Kate. It's lovely to see you again. We met
So
in
good.
Canberra at the Punters Politics
Yes.
thing, which was a fundraiser to raise money for a lobbyist,
Mm-hmm.
which I do like the concept of that. If you don't know who Punters Politics is, he's I guess would you call him a YouTuber? He's a political commentator.
Yes.
His name's Conrad. And he has rightly come to the conclusion that, if you want change to happen in this country, what you really need is a lobbyist.
Mm-hmm.
You can get someone to be voted into a seat, but that's one vote. Eventually in the Senate or the House of Reps, you need a lobbyist to go door to door and say, hey, how you going? What's up, man? I was asked to MC it. I had a great night. I met you there with one of Senator Pocock's team.
Mm-hmm.
What work are you doing with David?
Well, I've been a national advocate for gambling reform for a decade. And so, I work with him and his team on trying to further gambling reform. It's just absolutely despicable that we are the nation experiencing the highest levels of gambling harm in the world.
Gambling harm. That's impossible, mate. People are clearly doing it responsibly, and they are really thinking about what they're losing.
Yeah. All $32 billion of them.
Hey, that's responsible money. That is responsible. As I always say, like back when I was drinking, on the side of the can it said drink responsibly. It's like, I fucking am. It's out of the esky and warming. This is being responsible. Which is, and for a lot of people, they may not understand. I think it's hilarious that helps available at the end of the 1 minute long ad. People think if they've never had a problem with addiction, they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's like an ad on a smoking packet, a cigarette packet. It's like, that's the right thing. By the time you get to an ad, by the time you get to the label, it's way too late.
Yes.
You're so dysregulated. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
The industry is so dysregulated.
Well, as we have discovered in recent times, I'm sure there's some restaurants up in Darwin that have really great turnover for lunches. We'll get to that. Yeah. I've got my own history with addiction. I've talked a lot about it on the shows, mostly alcohol and various other pharmaceuticals. But that was just one of the avoidant behaviours that shows up. Avoidant behaviours can take many forms, mostly things that end in ing, drinking, smoking, shopping, gambling. All get in there to try to make the bad feelings stop. And at first they work and then they don't. And they're sold to us through whatever ads we have on our televisions or in our radios or in our feeds or on the jerseys of the players that we watch playing the games we love, that it's fun. It's fun and it's fine to have a flutter.
It's just entertainment. These
minimalising words, these harmless words. It's a flutter. It's fine. It's a multi. It's fine. Gonna win with my mates.
Yeah.
But that's not the reality of it,
no.
Is it? When did you first ever know what gambling was? I remember being taken to a TAB with my mum before a Melbourne Cup when I was about 11, I think. She told me to pick some numbers. I was like, oh yeah, did it?
Yes.
That was that.
Well, in kindergarten, I was exposed to Melbourne Cup for the first time, and that was the beginning of having this feeling that I need to put a bet on Melbourne Cup or else I'm missing out on something.
Oh, yeah.
So that grooming happened very early. But as far as poker machines, which ended up, almost taking my life, that was at 18 with my boyfriend who had been using them for about 2 years before I wanted to just join him at the local RSL. And that pressing the buttons a few times and getting an early win was this gateway into a relationship with the machine that I didn't see coming at all.
So 2 things I just noticed, and I'm sure you're very careful about your language, but I noticed that you used the word grooming. just then, and you weren't playing the machine, you were using. And I'm sure you're being quite deliberate about that language, but could you explain why you've chosen that way to describe it?
It's really important to frame this landscape correctly because the gambling industry has essentially controlled the narrative for 70 years in New South Wales around marketing products that are harmful and built for addiction, but making them widely accessible without consumer protections in place and making them seem like they're just harmless fun. And the words on the machine say play. You're not playing, you are gambling. And that the fact that they are in all of our social spaces gives this perception that they are just a benign thing to engage with, but that's not the case. They are intentionally built for addiction. And when I finally realised that I actually used the machine exactly how it had been designed for me to use it, was such a relief, because for a decade and a half, I kept asking myself, what's wrong with me? And I couldn't arrive at any, anything that made sense. No services that I accessed offered any insight. The services back in the early 2000s were, they really didn't exist. It was so not prioritised, and it still isn't as the public health issue that it is. New South Wales lost over $8 billion last year on poker machines alone. How can a state with 8 million people lose $8 billion on poker machines? That's wild.
That's $1,000 each.
At least.
Yeah. 8,000 million. Yeah. 8 billion. $1,000 each.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned that it started to get using these machines started to get caught up in a relationship. And when you're 18 and hormones are firing, those relationships, you don't talk much. So when you do leave the house, you're going to a social space, which in New South Wales, I grew up in Queensland. We didn't have poker until the early 90s. It's a tricky thing because pokies are the reason we have state of origin, but we can talk about that later.
Yes.
So having it as a part of your relationship and your entryway into being an adult and socializing and stuff like that, it is very normalized. But when did you start to notice that you were doing what other people weren't doing?
Well, I was doing what other people were doing, but nobody talked about it. There were plenty of people at that time experiencing harm, just the same as I was, but it's so hidden. It wasn't spoken about. There was nobody publicly talking about gambling harm. So I was left to think it's just me.
Right.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know why once I'm there, I can't stop accessing as much money as I can get my hands on. And that overwhelming desire to just the next press, it's just conditioning like no other.
Yeah.
And in such a hijacking way that we are simply not built for as human beings. One industry insider said, we built a machine that overrides human instincts. And I just burst into tears when he said those words of truth, because when I was experiencing it, the only narrative, as I said, was what's wrong with me.
This is a shame. I'm a piece of shit. I can't stop. I've got a problem.
Yes.
I should be able to stop this. I've got to stop other things. For people who may have not, who may not, kind of understand exactly what we're talking about, what's the habit loop and the exploits of that habit loop that these machines. So when we talk about the way the human behavior happens, there's a habit loop. Like I have a cup of tea in my hand. I feel a thirst. So there's hormones going on from body. They go, a bit thirsty. Had my meds today. Okay, here's a drink. Feeling a bit tired, so it's black tea. Here we go. There's a relief.
Yeah.
And then there's a feeling of relief, which will last probably for a few minutes until my mouth gets dry again. And then I'll get the feeling. And I will do that again. And there is a sense of satisfaction. There is a buildup of tension. And there is a sense of satisfaction once I have, had the craving for the thing.
Yes.
And this is how we feed ourselves. This is how we find love. This is how we do work that's meaningful. This is why if we've had a good workout, we'll get this feeling afterwards and go, I'm tired now, but I'm kind of looking forward to tomorrow's class because I like this feeling. But that has been hacked by the companies, the billion-dollar companies that make these machines. Can you explain how that works in the shape of a poker machine, please?
It works in a couple of different ways. So you're getting positively rewarded through sounds and lights, and that may not actually equate to winning. So they have a built-in feature called losses disguised as wins. So say you bet $5 and the lights and sounds will go off like you've won, but it's only $2. So it celebrates you losing $3 in a way that's actually registered in your brain as a win. That, keeps you thinking, okay, and then there's loss, near misses. So this is where it'll have like one symbol, there's just one above or one below. Those occurrences, because they are not actual reels going around in a machine anymore, it's all actually an Excel spreadsheet of math, have been programmed in to appear like 50% more than they would statistically if there were actual reels spinning around. But even in their most primitive state, they used to be called the one-armed bandit. Do you know why they were called that?
Oh, because, it was like it had, in the gunslinger movies, there was a person with a gun that said, give me all your money. And so you'd pull this lever and it'd go tick, 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 tick. It would set up a clockwork kind of reel and it would go grrr, tick, 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 dum. Didn't get there.
But the phrase I love best from one of the mob bosses that set up Vegas is, he said, we wanted to be able to take people's money without having to stick a gun in their face.
There you go.
So, it's just been so deliberate and intentional. But from, the consumer perspective, you walk in with hopes. You might see big dollar amounts up on, that you could possibly win. So it's like electronic heroin selling hope as an outcome.
And it plays on a few other things that we're terrible at as humans. One of them is understanding probabilities of any number that is literally really bigger than 50. You ask someone to give you an idea of like what's 1 in 51 chance this is going to happen. They will think, oh, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
No, it's 1 in 51 chance it's going to happen. So people are terrible at working out ratios and odds and things like that as we go. And even though they've got the sign right there, your odds of winning max payout on this are less than it's some ratio that is just gobbledygook. Doesn't make sense to anybody. So it really plays on people's inability to do the kind of statistics that they need to make a rational choice.
Absolutely. And the way that, as I said, you're getting this reward, in such high speed, the reels have sped up now to being less than 3 seconds a spin. And in New South Wales and ACT, you can bet $10 a spin.
Fuck me.
So that's over $6,000 in a half an hour you can lose. It's so far from harmless fun, but yet, here we are decades later trying to get reforms, and that's why I partnered with change.org to do loss limits, not lost lives, because if someone's experiencing gambling harm, they're actually 4 or 5 times more likely to take their life than they are from any other form of addiction.
what I'd love to see in Australia is legislation to decouple profit from addiction. Because right now we have industries like the alcohol industry and the gambling industry, and as a result, largely the sport industry. And this is, trust me, I love watching footy, and I would hate to see what would happen to footy if all that advertising revenue went away. Yet the amount of profit that comes from addiction, directly from addiction in our country is repugnant, and it is morally reprehensible, and we cannot call ourselves good human beings for allowing this to go on. We get really upset, and rightly so, about other legislative things in our country that have really let us down. We're trying really hard with age verification on mobile apps, in social media and things, which is really important and really good. And yet when you think about how much harm is being caused by these industries that are so profitable and just reap millions and billions of dollars off of misery, we're fine with it, because that's, I like this ad. It's the guy where he rides a racehorse through his living room. Oh, I love this ad. He's got good mates. I wish I had mates like that. I should get on the app.
Yeah. Well, I think that we are actually not fine with it. As you know, there is overwhelming support for an advertising ban. It's like 85% of Australians don't want to see gambling ads because it's been so bombarding.
Do the remaining 15% own broadcast and NRL franchises?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's just the sporting, it's only people that are actually profiting from this that are jumping up and down. The rest of Australians are not okay with seeing their best mate lose his house, lose his wife, kill himself, see his business go under, go to jail. They're the outcomes that are happening, like in our suburbs, to people we know, but we just haven't been putting enough pressure on the decision makers to pull the trigger on it. And people that have got the ear of the politicians are making it seem like, the sky will fall if these things come to pass.
That advertising money will go elsewhere.
It will.
That is a lot of money that other markets and other products could do a lot with.
Yes.
I guess there's another thing that these industries really prey on, and much like fossil fuels and the way that and cigarettes, they've done a very similar thing. Cigarettes kind of started and fossil fuel industry followed, is make it the end user's fault. It's the end user's fault. You're the reason that you're in a hole here. You're the reason why you can't get back in the black by Monday, because you're a shit better. You should bet better on mate's bet. The other thing that we do as addicts is, the number one symptom of addiction is convincing you that you don't have it. And the number two symptom is that it will defend itself. It'll defend itself by isolating you from people that point out there might be something going on, and it'll protect itself at all costs by trying to justify, and normalize. Before you realize that things were really bad, is there a day that you look back on and go, I just thought that was normal?
Oh, there was so much that I look back now and reflect on, and just, I was in existence mode. I was not living. I was just not okay, but there was no answers that made any sense to how I went from being a normal 18-year-old to all of a sudden just not being able to be in a social environment without being drawn to a machine. It absolutely blindsides people in a way that is unparalleled. And
let me give you an example of what I'm asking about. I often talk about this when I'm on stage and talk about mental health in the workplace and stuff, about avoidant behaviour and how normalised it can feel. And that when I was still drinking and using, at one point in an afternoon, on a Tuesday, for example, about 2:30 in the afternoon, I'd be day drinking in my house. I was fancy. I had 2 monitors in 2006. And so on this, I'm gambling I'm playing two separate internet poker tournaments, gambling like hundreds of US dollars an hour because it's not cash. It's just those noises. And on this one, just like increasingly reprehensible porn, just feverishly masturbating, and just for hours. And that, if you call me, it's like, what are you doing? So I'm just hanging out at home. You'll come. That was just a Tuesday. It wasn't. I didn't feel disgusting. I didn't feel horrible. It's just got a couple hours. That's what I'm just after lunch. What am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. That's what I'll do. That was just it. It wasn't like I can't wait. It wasn't weird. It wasn't odd. And after that, I would go across the street to the Thai takeaway shop and grab a pad Thai, and then watch DVD and go to bed. That was just it. It was completely fine. I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
But I look back now and go, what the fuck was that?
Yes.
Sometimes it'd be like 10 straight hours. And there's a lot of sorbolene and Nurofen required because but that's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't think anything of it.
I think walking out of a club, like I couldn't even tell you how many times, but on the worst day I accessed $12,000 straight out of our mortgage, just going straight out the front, going to the bank, coming back in. Nobody said anything. And do you know, I was trying to win $10,000. Like that's how it doesn't make any sense.
Hang on. So you're at a pokey. And why did you get this thing in your head that I got to win $10,000 today?
Because the number at the top was about to click over to 10,000, and so I just decided that that's what I'm going to win, and so I start. You start with 100. Okay, that's gone in like 10 presses. So okay, go access ATMs. Can't access any more cash out of the ATMs in the venue, or I'll go across the road to the bank and just withdraw cash over the counter. $6,000 in, and it's clicked over to the 10, and it hasn't paid it, and I was like, what do I do here? Like I've got to keep going to try and get that money back. So I keep going out, come back in, keep feeding thousands of dollars.
Is anyone at the bank saying anything to you?
No one. No one said.
Anyone at the venue saying anything to you?
Zero. Absolutely
Aside
nothing.
from, would you like another drink?
Not a word.
Wow.
Nothing. And I sat there after I'd finished the 12. It's still on 10,000 now and $5, and I that day I ran out of time, not out of money.
Huh.
I had to go.
My God.
And it was so hard to leave, knowing that someone could just walk in and sit down and take what I would call at that time my money.
My money.
My money.
That's my money.
That's my money.
Yeah. And so then you've run out of time, you had to leave. And what's the next thing that shows up? It is oh my God, I'm deleting all of those files on my computer. I'm disgusting. It's, I'm burning the bank statement so no one can see it. It's the shame.
I had to talk myself out of not driving into a tree.
Oh, wow.
On the way home.
All right, man.
It was hands down one of the worst days of my life.
Oh my God. You have a family at this point.
I have 5 kids.
5 kids at this point. My gosh. And is your partner aware of what's going on?
He knew at times, it's the invisible addiction. You can't smell it on somebody's breath. You can't see it in the way that they walk. It's just something that you think you've got a hold of, like you'll have these periods where you won't gamble and I'm all right, I can do this. But without unlocking that shame, and that shame is put there, as you said, it's on the label, gamble responsibly.
It's your fault.
It's weaponized shame.
Yeah.
And it's so despicable in the way that, as I said, it was after I almost took my life that I arrived at, hold on a minute, I actually used the machine exactly how it was designed. There was nothing wrong. I am the ideal customer, not the exception to the rule. Yeah. I am who they hope walks in and sits down and plows 12 grand to win 10, but walks out with none. Like, how is that legal? How is that legal?
There's shame involved, but it's not on the end user. Up until you're pushing that button from that machine back, there's an entire just ladder of accountability of humans who have gone, yes. Yeah. There is where the shame belongs.
Yes.
Not upon you sitting in that stool. But that's the way that we have seen it. And I think we're starting to, as a society, understand that these things are well beyond, because we all now have the experience of like, I can't put my phone down.
Yes.
Why can't I put my phone down? Oh, you can't put your phone down because the smartest psychologists in the world and the most powerful algorithms ever have figured out exactly how to keep you there as long as they need to.
Correct.
And unless you put a physical barrier between you and it, like literally putting it in another room, you're going to be unable to not do it, because you are a biological organism that has needs and wants from another sip of my tea, for example.
Yes. It's called
you can't override it.
Operant conditioning.
You're operantly conditioned, precisely. Yes. What does treatment look like? I mean, you can't, as you mentioned, you can't just stop. And as someone who's tried to stop drinking a few times, I tried to stop it a bunch of times, couldn't do it by myself. It wasn't until I realized, and it wasn't until I started working on the reasons that I was doing it, that I was able to stay not doing it. If I just tried to stop doing it, I could only do that for 6 weeks at a time, maybe. That was that. And then I was, bang, duck to water, back into it.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started to work on the reasons, like it is avoidant behavior. What does treatment look like, and what is the addiction? Looking at what the addiction is a response to is kind of where you have to start, isn't it?
Definitely, but you have to help liberate a person from shame.
Yes.
That's not theirs. And that's where, sometimes when people access services, like the therapist will be like digging away trying to find some trauma, If you look hard enough, you'll find trauma in everybody's life.
Yeah.
But gambling harm is a unique addiction as far as the experience of gambling can create trauma that, I think is unique in this space. When you are absolutely blindsided by an engagement with a product that you perceived as harmless, like if I walked up to you and said, you're going to have to do that bag of Coke, or, you would know that is going to cause you harm. But if something's like, this is just a plaything, this is just a toy, this is just fun.
Games for grown-ups.
Yes. Then you don't see it as the threat that it is to your well-being.
Yeah.
So that's really key to unlocking that and putting shame where it belongs, as you said, on the creators of these products and those in positions of power who have not only just enabled it, but they've facilitated the growth of this industry. Up until last year, the industry could claim taxpayer money to do research and development on new ways of exploiting people.
Fantastic.
How?
That's lobbying.
How fantastic is that?
That's a win. That's a lobbying win. Let's go have a $9,998 lunch at Rockpool.
Yep.
That's bloody good.
I mean, it's just so wild. I didn't understand any of this, of course, when I'm experiencing it. I'm just thinking, well, it's me. It's me. I'm absolutely screwed. And
the thing that people, so let me just take a step back or two. When you were trying to stop by yourself before you got treatment, a lot of people don't understand about addiction that the addict knows how bad it is. The addict is well aware of how much damage they're causing. It is, however, the best option they've got, because if they don't do it, the pain and discomfort is just catastrophic. what were the days like when you were white knuckling, when you were trying to stop without any help yet?
It was so mentally overwhelming. I was either stressed out about how I'm going to pay bills or just absolutely guilt-ridden about what had happened. The first time I called Lifeline in 2003, I got told, just don't wear shoes. If you don't wear shoes, you won't be able to get into a venue, so you won't be able to gamble. And I was like, what?
Look, I like what they're talking about. At least it's an in.
And I said, if I was addicted to drugs, there would be a rehab. Like, why? Yeah. Where can I go? I need a rehab. I just could recognize that I needed to not be in that environment anymore. I needed to be surrounded by support. And they go, oh, no, there's no rehabs for gambling.
That's not true.
And if there was, they'd be for men. That's what I was told in 2003.
Wow. I doubt that was true at the time. I'm sorry you got told that, because I know there's rehabs that are around longer than that. But it was not very well known. So they were probably operating on the best knowledge they had.
I was
a bit shit.
Horrified.
Yeah.
Horrified. And to this day, there isn't a residential rehab in Canberra for gambling.
Me. That is so gnarly. That is so gnarly.
So here we are, like, and I'm calling in New South Wales at that time in 2003. Nothing, no rehab, nothing.
Oh man!
And then when I did years later reach out for help a second time, they had a face-to-face counsellor opposite a club.
Look, I understand that. Probably the best sobriety meeting that I went to ever that got me really, really sober was in a bar in the middle of the day. And it was actually pretty good. It was actually really, really good, to be honest. But the bar wasn't open upstairs. The downstairs one was. So you'd have to walk through an open bar to get to this meeting. It was actually a good exercise. But opposite, across the road from when you say club, you mean you're talking like a leagues club, which we never really had in Brisbane. It's a place that has a license to sell booze and also run these machines.
Yes.
And
like in the hundreds.
Yeah. This is why when you see player salaries for footballers, they are in the multi-millions because I love football. I really do. And the money that they get paid is probably gambling profits.
Yeah. But
it's so shit.
There is another way of doing it, and there are other advertisers that could fill in the gap. But what they don't want to give up is the fact that they actually get a cut of how much people lose on games as well. Like, that's so despicable and predatory that you're willing to just absolutely ignore the harm for the sake of your bottom line.
What did help eventually look like for you?
The morning after I almost took my life in 2012, my husband drove me to see a new counsellor. And I remember being in the car thinking, I'll go and see this counsellor. I had no hope at that point left in me. The only reason I'm talking to you right now was I was pregnant with our sixth child and I couldn't figure out how to take my life and not harm her. And so my plan was go to counselling until the baby's born and then I'll check out.
Back at it.
Yeah.
Get back at it. And what was it that, I mean, I can understand that because it was when I met Audrey in Georgia, I now had a different reason to do the work. And not that the other 5 kids weren't a great reason. They're a great reason. But it's an opportunity to have a slightly fresher look at what's happening here. What was it?
It wasn't that I didn't. It was that I didn't feel worthy of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I had convinced myself that they'd be better off without me.
Oh, man. And that's we talk about the gambler's fallacy, which is what you were stuck in, chasing that 10,000. But that's the other great fallacy that our brain tricks on us when we're in those really dark moments. I've been there. I was like, oh, everyone will be better off. But that's actually not true at all. You think about it. Think about the funerals you've been to. Everyone's
I know.
It's terrible. No, they're not better off without you. It's really bad.
Yeah.
And then they play the Jeff Buckley song and it gets really sad. It's horrible. It's terrible.
I know. That's why I fight so hard for people who are still stuck there, because too many people in Australia are losing their lives.
Oh,
This is unparalleled public health crisis that we are willfully ignoring in favour of a few people earning billions of dollars.
What was it about that round of treatment that worked or started to work for you?
She said to me, "What do you like about you?" And boy, did that hit me between the eyes at that point. And I couldn't come up with an answer. And she said, "Come on, you need to tell me 10 things." And I said, "Well, can I list my children individually? Like there's half the list." She said, "No, it has to be something that you like about you." And I was like, "Rightio." But that made me connect to compliments that people had actually paid me that I'd never let, in, because I thought, yeah, but if you really knew me, you wouldn't say that. So anytime somebody said, "Gee, you're a great mum," or, "Your husband's so lucky to have you," or "You're a beautiful friend, you're very hospitable, you're, such a caring person, you're so generous," none of that I believed was true of me. But I thought maybe people do know me. Maybe I just don't know me.
That's the trick, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We have these ideas of what we think of ourselves, but they're based on an incomplete set of information.
Mm.
As my friend Charlie once said to me, he said, "You don't understand. You've never been in a room before you walk into it. You don't know what effect you have on other people.
Mm.
So if it doesn't fit with how you feel about yourself, you can write it all off." There's me talking now. If how I feel about myself doesn't fit with what people are telling me, I can write it off as like, "Oh, you're lying." I legitimately believe that they gave me the Australian Idol job as a favour. I had such low self-esteem, crazy low self-esteem.
Wow.
It took me years to go, oh, no, hang on. This is a multi-million dollar television format and they're not going to roll the dice on an unknown factor. Oh, they gave it to me. Well, one of the two jobs they gave to me because I was the best option they had. Oh, don't forget that. So whenever the other brain shut up goes, "Oh, yeah, but you repeat that." I was like, hang on a second. I'm going to trust those people because they have shareholders at stake.
Yeah.
So I'm going to trust them over me and I'll just go with that for now. And that's when things started to shift. You know, it's when you start to go, well, I might just go with that idea for now because it's a bit better than what I've got.
Yes. And that's where like that phrase, "know thyself," crept in, and I Googled it and I was like, who said that? Where did that come from? And it was Socrates. And
Socrates.
And he, the one of his quotes that I just love was, "People make themselves appear ridiculous when they try to know obscure things before they know themselves."
That's true.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I have spent my whole life learning all of these obscure things about the world and neglected me.
Right.
And didn't know anything about myself, but I also didn't know anything about the environment that I walked into as an 18-year-old. And that fired up curiosity.
Oh, once your dopamine system gets once your dopamine system gets dysregulated, that's the reward chemical. There's a fantastic book I've talked about here before. It's called The Molecule of More. It's very, very clever book. Dopamine is basically anything that I can reach isn't dopamine. Anything that's out of my reach, dopamine's involved. Like if I want to go over and adjust that monitor, dopamine, it plays a role in me giving a shit enough to stand up and go over and do it. And that's it. We get rewarded then with the feel-good chemicals after that, and then we go around like that. Once your dopamine system gets dysregulated and you start wanting more and more and more of this thing, your ability to actually make a rational choice no longer plays a part.
No.
And that's, I think, what people don't really understand about addiction is that it's not rational.
No.
It's not. But there has been a dysregulation in the way the neural pathways have wired up, and even the smartest person cannot outthink their way from it. What are the practical ways that you start to keep yourself safe when you're still on your training wheels of trying not to use again? Because I think about, I'll give you an example. I got told, so the first thing that happens is, I can't go out with those guys anymore because those guys are really only in my life to, drink and use. So I won't call those people. Who else do I have in my life? That's right, nobody, because my life has just become, okay, right. Well, now I'm a bit lonely. I'm sober and lonely. I'm boring, aren't I? It's a bit sad. Oh, it's okay. So if I went to these meetings, I had new people to talk to, people that aligned with me, and there's nice. New social scene. Lovely. So that was number one. Things like meeting somebody for brunch. All right. Sometimes people will have a glass or two at brunch, but then I can just go.
Yeah.
I never meet anyone for dinner. And if I still do it to this day when I check in a hotel, I'm nearly 16 years, I make sure they get the minibar out of the room. And so these are small things that I use. These small things that I do. I put in place just to just kind of bolster up the, make things a little safer. Not that I'm not going to start to drink or use again. I'm not. But it's just less cognitive load. I don't have to think about it.
It's about being intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what are the things that when you're first starting to avoid those places you went to and things that they tell gambling addicts to put around themselves to keep themselves a bit safer?
Well, I call them people experiencing gambling harm, not gambling addicts. But I feel that that's, again, just giving the industry a free kick.
If you call them a gambling addict?
They created the addiction.
Okay.
It's addiction by design.
All right, this is true.
Nobody,
That's an interesting, people. Okay. So what is it that people experiencing gambling harm like yourself?
Yes.
What are the things they put in place to keep themselves safe in the early days?
It's really important that there is free financial counselling. So just getting somebody to help support you financially, navigate that world that's become very dysregulated. And they do that, as I said, for free for as long as you need. And they can really step in as advocates for you to, negotiate debt settlements or, just make that less overwhelming.
So at this point, I'm pretty sure what you're doing is the way that I used to deal with this kind of stuff, which is go from the letterbox to the recycling bin. See, I don't need to worry about these unpaid bills if I just put them straight in the blue bin.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Eventually a bloke turns up. That's when it gets tricky.
Correct. Yeah.
But that's literally what I would do.
Yeah. Not open
because I didn't want to avoid it.
Absolutely. So they are just absolute angels, and a really vital part of support. The way I describe it to people is, if you broke your arm, no one would expect that your arm would heal all by itself.
Yes.
You would go into a hospital, they would put plaster around it, and you would need to be supported for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think about it like that, and using intentional tools, like the way the industry frames self-exclusion is, you are the problem, you can't control yourself in this environment, you need to be excluded. And that is basically how they, put that like kind of final nail in the coffin for people, to make them feel like they are now socially excluded from a place where often they've been treated like a VIP up until they ran out of money. And so I frame self-exclusion as an empowered choice that you are taking to protect your well-being, not you can't go there anymore. Like, no, you need to recognize that this is an unsafe environment, period. Not just for you, for everybody. You know, like it isn't okay that we've allowed these places to be, you know, mega casinos.
What happens when someone invites you to, oh, it's, you know, grandma's birthday, we're taking down to Sharky's?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be there.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll catch up with grandma later.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's not, you're making an empowered choice, not one from a place of, you know, there's something wrong with you. Just like if you discovered you're gluten intolerant, you just go, okay, I'm going to decide not to have gluten anymore because it doesn't do anything positive for my body.
Yeah. I'm celiac. I still miss sourdough, like I really do. But I'm not going to eat it because I don't want stomach cancer.
Correct. Yeah. Like you're making an empowered choice.
Yeah. What about the, and this was the thing that was a bit difficult for me to deal with when I first started getting healthy. I went through some periods of like hypomanic states. There's a period of what's called hedonic recall where you remember, that awesome, fuck, man, that was amazing. You then forget how, and for anybody that's had gastro on a trip to Thailand or lost luggage or whatever, they will forget all of that. They'll just tell you about that sunset that they saw.
Yes.
And it was unbelievable at the temple. It was incredible. They won't tell you that they, you know, shat through the eye of a needle and never saw the outside of the hotel room for 4 straight days.
Yes.
Right? It's called hedonic recall. So,
yeah.
And the world, because it wasn't that abnormal, super, super high, started to feel a bit boring. But I struggled with that, but I had to remind myself that's completely unsustainable. And when I'm in those states, I say and do things that are dangerous for me and people around me, and I can't allow myself to get back there. Yes, it's exciting, but so is driving 180 through a school zone. Right?
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Your brain will always try and, you know, go back to that pathway because it's, you know, been reinforced often for decades with gambling harm because it's invisible and no one knows. But it does, the way I frame it for people is it doesn't matter how much time and space you have away from it. This machine is built to addict you. It's going to have the same outcome.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're broken. It's that it will do exactly what it's been designed to do. And unfortunately, with people experiencing like betting like online, they'll get calls from VIP managers offering, you know, incentives to come back. Even if you self-exclude online, they'll go, hey, we haven't seen you in a while. How about you, you know, reactivate your account? Like they are predators, period.
That is so gnarly. So what does life begin to look like once you get, you know, you've got 6 kids by this stage, and I'm guessing now hours of your day back. What does life start to look like?
Well, I wasn't ever expecting to be an advocate. I promise you that. It just sort of happened. I was going along to a Smart Recovery meeting on a Monday night.
Which is AA without the God part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the service provider got switched out for another. And I was furious. I was like, what the f-?
Yeah.
Like you don't even respect our continuity of care. Like you haven't even stopped the landscape from happening and you just think our care is interchangeable. And it just fired me up, like to just recognize how broken this actual system is. And then there was this opportunity to train to be a lived experience speaker. And that felt like the most empowering thing for me to do at that point. I had almost let shame put me in the ground. And I thought, no, I'm going to completely be okay with the fact that people know that I struggled with gambling, because if it happened to me, it was happening to others, and enough's enough.
Yeah.
And that was just this beginning of, I trained to take over that group. Then every Monday night I'm sitting there waiting for people whose lives had already imploded to walk through the door. And I thought, nah, I've got to go back upstream and try and stop it from happening.
How do you talk to your kids about the way mum was then and the way mum is now?
With honesty and transparency. I have apologized profusely for the way that I wasn't able to show up as the mum that I wanted to be in those moments of being so overwhelmed and so stressed out about money and what I'd done. But I knew if I stayed in that place of hating myself, it would never bring about positive outcomes for their life. And so, I said, I'm going to try and forgive myself. Is that something that we can move forward with as a family? And they were like, of course. Like they weren't aware really, other than my husband and I fighting about money from time to time. They didn't know what I was dealing with until after I went public with it.
The addiction, like we mentioned before, is an avoidant behaviour. And it's something that can show up when there's something else going on that's too hard to deal with. When did you start to work on the thing that was when did you start to work on like I said, I was only able to keep sober once I started to work on the reasons that I was drinking, what I was drinking away. Then I was able to stay sober once I sorted those things out. And don't worry, it's a lifelong thing. I keep sorting them as I go, which is nice. When did you start to understand that, this is a reaction to something? My addiction is a reaction to something. If it was, in your case, it was poker machines, it could have been something else. What was life like when you started to work on that?
The reaction it was to self-loathing and shame.
Right.
And understanding.
That existed before the gambling?
No, that existed because of the gambling.
Oh, wow.
That, like, I had spent over a decade wishing I could go back to 18-year-old me and never have walked into a club.
Right.
And I couldn't do that. And I hated every moment since because of how it made me hate myself, of the lack of control I felt in that environment. That's, as I said, like this is unique to this addiction.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't driven. Like I spent so long trying to think what is driving me, and it was actually this feeling like I wanted to go back and to have never ever gambled. And I couldn't change that fact. And I thought that I'd discounted like my ability to ever live a normal life. Like I thought that pathway's gone now. I burnt that years ago.
So the cycle looks like I've, done a couple of grand. I feel terrible that I've done a couple grand. This is awful. I hate myself. I can't stand this. I'm a horrible piece of shit. I hate this. 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 I need some relief from this horrible feeling.
Yeah.
I know what I'll do.
Remember that time you pushed the button and you won this much? That can happen again. That can happen again.
ATM.
Yeah.
Bang. Oh, relief. But from the moment after that first slap, it's back.
Yes.
And it's the same with alcohol and any other drinking or any other using. It's the same thing.
Except that with gambling, it represents hope.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Everything's always going to be better once I start having a beer. Yes, I love a beer. Things are going to be so much better once I have this beer. All right? And that first sip, man, everything starts getting better straight away. And then within a matter of hours, everything is terrible, probably more terrible than it was before you opened the first one. And I would often say is that, like, the best way to get rid of the terrible feelings of all that drinking and using is more drinking and using. And that's it. But that's it. It creates its own cycle.
Yeah.
Which is reprehensible. What needs to happen? I mean,
but you add that layer then of like nobody's like the bottle-o isn't coming and knocking on your
Well,
door.
that's the thing. Well, Jimmy does bring.
They do deliver,
They do.
but they don't come for
No.
you and tap on the, you know.
And this is the thing, like with a drug like alcohol, there is a certain dosage which will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I can walk down the street to the bottle shop, and for less than $20, I can buy enough alcohol to kill me. And I'm a 80-kilogram man. For $20, I can overdose. All right. But you can't test a pill at a festival. Yet with something like mobile app gaming, you can, within less than 45 minutes, do your entire net worth at 2 a.m. with nobody going, "Hey, bro, you okay?"
Yeah.
And that is so terrifying for
Yes.
someone who doesn't realize what, pun intended, is at stake.
Yeah. Yeah. I spoke to a guy the other day who talks about it publicly, and he still hadn't joined the dots about how he was actually being groomed in his addiction. He'd taken on this, you know, personal responsibility mantra of, you know, I did this, I did this, I did this. And I was like, yeah, but when you're in it, were you getting calls from a VIP manager? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, okay. And then when you did have breaks and you pulled back, what happened? He goes, yeah, actually I was getting texts and getting offered bets. And I'm like, so even though you were trying to be responsible, you were getting preyed upon. And he was just like, oh my gosh, I hadn't ever realized that, because you're so conditioned to in this personal responsibility model that, as I said, takes people to their grave, and that's their intention. They use people to extinction.
I knew a guy that worked at one of the apps. I won't say the name of the app. Well, I knew him. And I said, so I was on in front. He goes, oh, I don't use it. No way. I never use it. Oh, right. So even the people that work there, it's like that, you know, documentary you all saw about the Instagram and Meta and all that.
Yeah.
They went, oh, no, I let my kids touch it.
No.
Like even the people who work there are like, no way. Oh, I'm not touching it.
Exactly. That's like all the club bosses wouldn't have their family in there for love nor money. You know, like that's the reality, is they know what they're doing and they do it intentionally.
So what, we're talking billions of dollars. And if there's one thing we know about power in our democracy, is that when power and money collide, it's very difficult to change the rules because billions of dollars is billions of dollars. No matter which way you slice it, people are going to be reluctant to give up their free cash fountain. So what has to change in our country? What does it need to start? I mean, I know no gambling anywhere. That could happen, but I don't know how. We have to be realistic.
Yeah.
What is a change that people might go, oh, that's way too much, but you think is like probably a feasible first step?
I've been in gambling reform for a decade. I've not been in gambling prohibition. Like that's not something, you know, all we're asking for is for it to be reasonable.
Yeah.
And there isn't any appetite for it because the industry is always at the table. You know, we didn't sit down with Big Tobacco and go, so we're going to actually stop smoking in public places because it's a public health crisis. What do you think about that? But that's what we do in gambling. Guess what? They're there at the table going, look, you know, no, we couldn't be sustainable if that. And it's like, oh, they're claiming hardship. They claim hardship. That's why they're allowed to open till 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. They've claimed hardship.
Amazing.
What would they know about hardship?
So what do you think, what's the first steps we need to take here?
That's why, you know, get on and leave your story, your lived experience on the change.org petition, lost limits, not lost lives. And
tell me about what a lost limit is.
It's we're putting forward the public health model that was put forward. It was almost stood up in Tasmania. It's just been shelved at the moment, not destroyed. But $100 a day, 500 a month, 5,000 a year is what public health experts agree is a reasonable parameters to build on poker machines. When, as I said, right now you can lose $6,000 in a half an hour.
So a loss limit means that, and I'm guessing this means you can't put cash in it anymore.
Yeah.
So it would be a card of some description.
Yes.
And that's linked to you.
Yes.
And in your pop and slap, that's your 100 for the day.
Yeah.
No matter where you go in the state, you will not then be able to play, you will not be able to use again.
Yes.
And how much was it a month?
500.
500 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go back that week and then you've blown it, so for 3 weeks you can't go back, and then 5,000 a year, that's a lot of money. 5,000 a year is a lot of money, but if you say you could do 6.5 an hour, then it's probably not a lot. And so that's not saying don't have a punt. This is just pokies. Yeah. This is not even talking about taking multis on Singaporean badminton or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's just a start.
It needs national regulation. I wish this was just one product in one environment, but it's not. It's multiple products across multiple environments, and the blurring of gaming and gambling, like pretty much every kid's app now has some level of gamblification, either overt or covert. It's the stuff I teach in schools, highlighting the grooming that is happening in children to point them towards being future users, once they hit 18 and, that so-called Australian rite of passage to go have a drink and a slap. It's like, what culture have we been sold as a normal way of being? And that's something, I think deserves a little attention.
So that's the loss limits on poker machines. But what about mobile gaming? What about that sort of thing?
Oh, this is something we've been arguing with ACMA.
What's ACMA again?
The Australian Media Communications Authority.
Australian Communications
Media Authority. Yes, correct. You put it in the right order. So that's the federal body that looks after, is claiming to be policing the online gambling space. What that looks like is they play whack-a-mole with gambling companies that pop up here because we're open for business. We're already primed for addiction because of all the grooming that we've had. And so they'll get an alert from a customer saying, I've just lost 600 grand on this lotto mania, whatever it's called. They'll put a geo block and stop that site. Guess what? It pops up 2 seconds later, sends out an email to their customers. Oh, sorry for the inconvenience. Here's your new login and some free credits. So that's basically the system we have in place at the moment.
So what needs to happen there when it comes to
looking at other countries that have actually blocked gambling online for their, it can be done. There's just...
Has anyone done it and then pulled it back? Because it feels like
America repealed their gambling laws.
And then they put it back in, didn't they?
No. That they're experiencing an absolute wave of gambling harm, that they made a decision in 2018 to pull back on outlawing online gambling.
Because they did outlaw online gambling. I remember it because this was the internet poker that I used to play, and then I couldn't play it anymore.
Yes.
That was good for me.
Yep.
Because I couldn't do it anymore, and it wasn't legal in Australia at that point. That was nice. So they pulled it back. I think it was about 10 years. And now it's back. But so it is a little like to take. It almost feels like if you were to say we're going to can every mobile gambling app, it'd be like, and we're also going to de-electrify the cities. Like we've just become so accustomed to having these things in our televisions in our hands as a part of going out. But like, surely there's got to be some way to have a similar kind of loss limit thing with these apps.
Yeah, and that has to be in cooperation with banks. Like right now, the banks are part of the problem.
Right.
One of my clients, she was offered by one of the big banks. I will not name and shame on air, but
there's 4. No.
5 increases to a personal loan in a month, charging her $250 a pop, from $6,000 to $34,000, knowing she was gambling.
Using that, so going straight from the personal loan to a gambling company, the BSB, USB, like BSB account details, BPay, whatever.
They're offering the increase to her, 5 in a month.
Wow.
Because there's so many little players, and do you know what they're asking? There's an actual line. They ask customers, "Are you going to use this for gambling?"
Of course not.
So they can say, "Well, you can't come back at us because we asked you if you were going to use it for gambling."
Do they not see where the money then goes?
They, of course, know exactly where it's going. This is the predatory landscape that we find ourselves in Australia, because we are so profoundly unprotected as consumers.
So maybe is the solution not going for the gambling apps, but this is a solution going at the banks, going, this is the limit of any deposits to any kind of gambling business.
This is a whole of system. We need a holistic approach to this.
Yeah, right.
The way it has been set up is, the industry will go, "Oh, look, there's something bright and shiny over there. We'll do this. We'll tinker over here, or we'll distract you with this." And everyone, it's split between state powers or 2 federal ministers, or, it's so complex.
Yeah.
Again, by design. But there is solutions, and other countries have implemented safeguards and actually put the well-being of their, people that live there as a top priority, which we should be doing.
When it comes to gambling losses and the harm of gambling in Australia, we often just see the big numbers, and they're terrifying numbers. What is the overall public health cost once you factor in things like lost productivity, healthcare costs, DV, lost houses, all that kind of stuff?
The study that was done in Victoria extrapolated that 4 times the losses equals the social harm. So if Australia is losing $32 billion in losses, you times that by 4.
It's $128 billion cost to us as a taxpayer
as a
society.
Social harm.
As a social cost, the social harm.
Yeah.
And that includes, hospital admissions and, police intervention and justice systems.
Yeah.
And, kids getting taken away, all that kind of stuff.
A woman I advocate with, she said when she was incarcerated, 75% of the female population was there from gambling-related harm. Just let that sink in.
It's magnificent. It's up there, isn't it?
It's horrific.
It's the cognitive dissonance between, once profit gets involved, the cognitive dissonance between actual factual science, a line that's extrapolated directly from a human harm between, for example, fossil fuel use and profit, and this and profit. It's just so obviously there. And yet what happens in decision makers' heads that goes, yeah, but
yeah.
Do you have some sort of blind trust that's sending all 4 of your kids to some mad public school, some private school, and you're just going to go skiing in Aspen and no one's going to ask where the money came from? What is happening?
Yeah,
we've got to figure this out.
It's why I'm asked to speak in workplaces, schools, universities, because people are experiencing harm.
Yeah.
And right now there's nothing that makes sense, that helps people make sense of why nothing is being done. So, empowering people to be able to see the landscape for what it is and make empowered choices. Liberating people from shame that wasn't theirs is vital, and helping to illuminate actual support systems that, don't feel bad if you need to seek help for what's happening to you, because that's exactly how it was designed for you to experience.
Yeah, it's not your fault.
No.
And if you feel powerless about it, the powerful thing you can do is to seek help.
Yeah.
And there is plenty of help.
Yes.
But it's not going to go away.
No.
And recognizing that you can no longer stop it yourself is probably it's okay to have that, to notice that.
Yes.
Because it's designed that you can't stop it yourself.
They built a system that overpowers human instincts.
Yeah.
That's what you've got to remember. It's not just harmless fun. It couldn't be further from the truth.
The change.org petition is called
hashtag loss limits not lost lives.
It's a grim hashtag, but it does what it says on the box. Thanks for coming in.
Oh,
I'm glad you made it.
Yes.
Both holistically and today.
Yeah. I know.
It's good to have you here. Thanks for coming in.
No, thank you.
That was good.